Hi everyone, I'm Mike Thompson from News 8 Now, WKBT Channel 8 in La Crosse. I anchor the 6 and 10 o'clock news on Channel 8, and I'm very excited to be here for Storytime with you tonight. I've got one of my favorite books. It's also a favorite of my kids over the years. I have a 19-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 4-year-old. The olders have kind of grown out of the book, but the 4-year-old still likes to be read this book at night. It's called The Sneetches, and it's by a very famous author named Dr. Seuss. Hopefully you've heard of him before. He's got lots and lots of great books out there. So if you haven't read one by Dr. Seuss before, I'm sure you will coming up here very soon. So again, this is called The Sneetches by Dr. Seuss. Now the star-belly Sneetches had bellies with stars. The plain-belly Sneetches had none upon theirs. Though stars weren't so big, they were really so small. You might think such a thing wouldn't matter at all. So you got the star-belly Sneetches and the plain-belly Sneetches. But because they had stars, all the star-belly Sneetches would brag, "We're the best kind of Sneetch on the beaches. With their snoots in the air, they'd sniff and they'd snort. We'll have nothing to do with the plain-belly sort." And whenever they met some when they were out walking, they'd hike right on past them without even talking. When the star-belly children went out to play ball, could a plain-belly get in the game? No, not at all. You could only play if your bellies had stars, and the plain-belly children had none upon theirs. So you can see the children with the stars playing ball, having fun. The plain-belly Sneetches, sad, they can't get in the game. When the star-belly Sneetches had Frankfurter roasts, or picnics or parties or marshmallow toasts, they never invited the plain-belly Sneetches. They left them out cold in the dark of the beaches. They kept them away, never let them come near, and that's how they treated them year after year. Then one day it seems, while the plain-belly Sneetches were moping and doping alone on the beaches, just sitting there wishing their bellies had stars, a stranger zipped up in the strangest of cars. "My friends," he announced in a voice clear and keen, "my name is Sylvester McMonkey McBean. And I've heard of your troubles, I've heard you're unhappy, but I can fix that. I'm the fix-it-up chappie. I've come here to help you, I have what you need, and my prices are low, and I work at great speed, and my work is 100% guaranteed." So here's Sylvester McMonkey McBean coming up in this funny contraption here, and all the Sneetches are, without stars, are kind of like, "Ooh, what's he going to do for us?" Well, then quickly Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very peculiar machine. And he said, "You want stars like a star-belly Sneetch? My friends, you can have them for $3 each. Just pay me your money and hop right aboard." So they clambered inside, and the big machine roared. And it clonked, and it bonked, and it jerked, and it burked, and it bopped them around. But the thing really worked. When the plain-belly Sneetches popped out, they had stars. They actually did. They had stars upon theirs. So these plain-belly Sneetches are paying him $3, and they're going into his star-on machine and coming out with stars on their belly, just like the ones who had stars at the start. Well, then they yelled at the ones who had the stars at the start, "We're exactly like you. You can't tell us apart. We're all just the same now, you snooty old smarties, and now we can go to your Frankfurter parties." "Good grief," groaned the ones who had stars at the first. "We're still the best Sneetches, and they are the worst. But now how in the world will we know," they all frowned, "if which one is what, or the other way around?" So now no one can tell each other apart. They all have stars. That didn't make the ones who had stars at the start very happy at all. So then up came McBean with a very sly wink, and he said, "Things are not quite as bad as you think. So you don't know who's who. That is perfectly true. But come with me, friends. Do you know what I'll do? I'll make you again the best Sneetches on the beaches, and all it will cost you is $10 eaches." "Well, belly stars are no longer in style," said McBean. "What you need is a trip through my star-off machine. This wondrous contraption will take off your stars, so you won't look like Sneetches who have them on theirs." And that handy machine, working very precisely, removed all the stars from their tummies quite nicely. So now the Sneetches that had stars on their bellies at the front, at the start, they're going through his star-off machine to take the stars off their bellies. Well, then, with snoots in the air, they paraded about, and they opened their beaks, and they let out a shout. "We know who is who, now there isn't a doubt. The best kind of Sneetches are Sneetches without." Well, then, of course, those with stars all got frightfully mad. To be wearing a star was now frightfully bad. Then, of course, old Sylvester McMonkey McBean invited them into his star-off machine. Then, of course, from then on, as you probably guessed, things really got into quite a horrible mess. All the rest of the day on those wild, screaming beaches, the fix-it-up chappie kept fixing up Sneetches. Off again, on again, in again, out again. Through the machines they raced round and about again, changing their stars every minute or two. They kept paying money, they kept running through, until neither the plane nor the starbellies knew whether this one was that one, or that one was this one, or which one was what one, or what one was who. Look at that. Sylvester McMonkey McBean getting all that money, and they're just keep going in and out, in and out. No one knows who's who. Well, then, when every last cent of their money was spent, the fix-it-up chappie packed up and he went. And he laughed as he drove in his car up the beach. They never will learn. No, you can't teach a Sneetch. Look at all that money that he got from them by tricking them, the poor Sneetches. But McBean was quite wrong, I'm quite happy to say, that the Sneetches got really quite smart on that day, the day they decided that Sneetches are Sneetches, and no kind of Sneetch is the best on the beaches. That day, all the Sneetches forgot about stars and whether they had them or not upon theirs. The end. So that is one of my favorite books, and you know why it's one of my favorite books? It's one of my favorite books because it has a great message in here, and it's basically just be kind to one another, especially people who are different than you. There's really no difference in any of us. You just got to be kind to anyone and celebrate the differences. Don't be mean to each other because someone is different from you. So thanks for joining me for this very special story time. I'm glad you could be here with me, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. Have a great night.